Before Zen had a name, this is what it was. It was the study of the Lankavatara Sutra. And as I said previously, in accordance with a note in the appendix on page 299, this sutra asserts the existence of a reality which is perceivable only by the eye of transcendental knowledge, which is in the possession of a wise man. This reality is the exalted ultimate self-nature of all things. And I'm reading from the last section of the sutra, which is known as the verse summary. Although it's not really a summary, it's just lots of excerpts plus some additional material. And it's known as the Sagatakam. I'll just read a little note that Professor Suzuki says about the Sagatakam. This section entitled Sagatakam consists entirely of verses. It is probable that it was added later into the text. The subjects treated are many and varied, including those that have never appeared in the text. The verses are in a most confused condition, and it is frequently quite difficult to disentangle them and give them a semblance of order. The reader may use his own judgment in the matter, so it's nice to have permission to do that. So in the last video I read the opening verse, which was about destroying the net of philosophical views. It's very easy to get the impression that Buddhism is about philosophy. Well, you can certainly approach it that way if you like, but that's not what these videos are about. These videos are about entering into this reality, which I just mentioned, which is perceivable only by the eye of transcendental knowledge. Now, the sutra, the text, is a dialogue between the Buddha and Mahamati. And Mahamati's described as a Bodhisattva-Mahasattva. A Bodhisattva-Mahasattva. Now, sattva simply means being, a being, and bodhi means enlightenment. So a bodhisattva is an enlightenment being. And what is this? What is an enlightenment being? Traditionally, it's understood as somebody who is pursuing enlightenment. There's a great deal of mythology that's built up around the notion of the bodhisattva. For example, that the bodhisattva is holding back from enlightenment until all other beings are enlightened. This is a wonderful image, a wonderful story, but it's not very helpful on a practical level. And in fact, notions of enlightenment often aren't very helpful on a practical level. And there are two particular notions of enlightenment characterized by what was described previously as the Mahayana and Hinayana perspectives. The Hinayana perspective is that enlightenment only happens after the purification of the mind. And this can take a very long time. It can take lifetimes, eons of lifetimes. And in fact, many Buddhists these days, they don't seriously subscribe to the possibility of enlightenment. It's such a remote possibility. This is the lesser way, the Hinayana. The Hinayana contents itself with meditation and being good. On the other hand, if you've some familiarity with stories of enlightenment, it often happens just like that. It's immediate. There's no need for long preparation. It's something that happens, like the sun breaking through the clouds, or like waking up. It's a realization, awakening, enlightenment. and it's not difficult. It can happen just like that, but it can also go very quickly. So true spiritual work begins after enlightenment has happened. When the Buddha reached enlightenment, sitting under the Bodhi tree, he had to spend several weeks consolidating it. It's sometimes said that before the Buddha became the Buddha, he was a Bodhisattva, but he was really a Bodhisattva after his enlightenment. And that enlightenment could have happened at any time in the past. In fact, there's a story of the Buddha sitting under another tree, a rose apple tree, watching his father ploughing the field. He was only a teenager, and he had an enlightenment experience then. And this is what he remembered when he was sitting under the Bodhi tree, when he became finally enlightened. So the Bodhisattva is the enlightenment practitioner. The Bodhisattva is a being dedicated to enlightenment. And it's not that they're looking for enlightenment, they've already found it. They're just becoming more and more established in it. And they're not doing it for themselves or for anybody else. They're simply doing it because it's what needs to be done. This is the Bodhisattva. And our friend Mahamati is also described as a Mahasattva. We've got this word Maha again, as in Mahayana. It means great, with a capital G. And this represents the wisdom of enlightenment. So it's possible to be enlightened, but not to exhibit much wisdom, because you're not actually applying the enlightenment. Enlightenment is something that needs to be applied. From enlightenment, ordinary reality needs to be examined. This is what the Buddha did after his enlightenment. This is how his wisdom developed, by applying his enlightenment to the ordinary understanding, to the ordinary situation, to the common experience. So Mahamati is a Bodhisattva-Mahasattva. He's an enlightenment practitioner. He's reinforcing his own enlightenment, and he's a Mahasattva because in doing so he's developing wisdom. And this is what we want to be as we embark on this course. We want to be bodhisattvas. Well, we either are a bodhisattva or not. We need to have had an enlightenment experience, or there needs to have been an enlightenment event in our life. And if you examine your life carefully, there might be some moments which might qualify. Otherwise you probably wouldn't be listening to this video. Because what we must ask ourselves, is enlightenment about something that we haven't got and that we think we should get? Or is it about something that we already have but just haven't recognized it? Now, just to make sure we're on the right track here, the answer's to do with your own awareness. The answer's to do with the nature of your own awareness. And the answer is to do with the awareness that is hearing this.